Did you hear this? A carelessly planned project will take you 3 times longer to complete than expected, while a carefully planned project will take you only twice as long. You think it's a joke? It is not. It's not in the project management book of knowledge, but nevertheless it's a law. It's one of the immutable laws of project management. Today we'll do the math together and you will see how true to life this law is. And I have some good news for you too. You can do much better, obviously with Project Management 2.0. Stay with me and I'll tell you what we all have been missing doing project management the way we know it.
This is part of Project Managers Not PMPs course. To stay in the know, subscribe to Collectiva.
Thank you, Amy. And by the way, hello and welcome to all Project Managers Not PMPs. My name is Sergey Brovkin. I am a certified recovering project manager and this is my advanced project management course. Welcome to lesson number 6. Last time we talked about planning. To start project off on the right foot, you need to have the project purpose and project requirements crystal clear. Then and only then you may have a carefully planned project, which, as you know now, will take you twice as long as expected. That is happening mostly because your planning is based on the estimates that are very far from reality. To do better than that, get the true correct estimates and perhaps improve them and improve the project performance, you need to understand how the estimates are created and how the environment, the team environment, affects them. This is what we are going to do today together. This is where the value of project manager is coming from. As project manager, you are not making profit nor bring revenue. Your role is to make sure that your project does not create unnecessary costs. You may say, but that's simply lean. Okay, call it lean. Call it even Six Sigma if it makes you feel any better. But all those are toolboxes and buzzwords at best. With the new Project Management 2.0 approach, and I would say mentality, this will be a natural outcome of the project management process because it includes optimization as a project phase. The key problem with Lean, Six Sigma, Agile, Weight Watchers and all other cult-like fad diets is that the result at best is like reinventing a three-legged chair. It's seemingly cheaper, but definitely not very comfortable. And there are some other ramifications. For example, at 3M a few years ago, Six Sigma almost killed innovation. Look it up on the web. More recently, Lean killed much more than innovation when was applied by Boeing. I wouldn't take my own word for it, of course. So I was pleasantly surprised myself when I learned that Tom Peters, well known to most of you, supported me with a very eloquent tweet. And that is what happens when you confuse cutting costs with cutting corners. And that's why great managers, like you, need to get to the bottom of the problem. As man hours more often than not have become the biggest expense of the project, correct estimates are your greatest cost-saving opportunity. Let me show you why project estimates are inherently wrong. There are many ways to gather estimates. I guess you know them all from the PMBOK. Whatever is your weapon of choice, Delphi, analogous, parametric, and so on, the quality of estimates is determined primarily by human factor. Here is how it works. What will be your estimate if I ask you how long is your daily commute, on average? Let's say your workplace is about 20 highway miles away. I'll give you a moment to come up with an answer, and probably your thinking will be from 20 minutes at night to 1-2 hours during the rush hour. A fair estimate will probably be 1 hour daily, both ways, assuming average road conditions. But if the question comes from your boss, who calls you on the phone and strongly suggests that your physical presence in the office will be desirable, your probable answer will probably be give me an hour, because you will provide some buffer to accommodate a possible delay on the road. But what if you need to go to the airport and to catch your flight? Your estimate will become more conservative because stuff happens and you definitely want to avoid the unnecessary risk. At work, as everywhere else, people tend to add buffer to the time and effort estimates to protect themselves, because that's how all the species are wired. Because self-preservation is the first law of nature. So this is quite normal, especially when people do not feel safe, when the trust is low in the team. We will return again and again and again to the notion of trust, but for now let's look at another reason why estimates are inflated. Look at your own experience, and you may recall that as soon as you start doing something faster, let's say 10% faster than before, this new productivity level becomes your baseline next day. That is why we have absolutely no reason to show our true potential to anybody unless there is a very high motivational factor. But does your team have one? This is the second reason why project estimates are often wrong. Also a very soft reason, as you can see. Even salespeople who work on commission are reluctant to show year-over-year growth more than 5-10%, because 1 year later they will be expected to deliver 21% more than last year. In most cases, this is not a sustainable growth rate. We all tend to push for higher inputs while limiting our outputs, thus rendering any system inefficient by default. And this is because of our biological wiring, with self-preservation hard-coded and fine-tuned by natural selection. The natural law, by the way, explains why socialism of any shade is not sustainable in any political, social, or business environment. Don't you think so? Think about it. And we may get back to it next week. As a great manager, you will be able to change that wiring, at least for your team, and I'll tell you how. This is what Project Management 2.0 is about. Let's now complete our analysis of project estimates and do the promised math to see if it supports the immutable law number 8. A carelessly planned project will take 3 times longer to complete than expected, and a carefully planned project will take you only twice as long. How far is that from reality? Actually, it is very close. Let's look at the commuting example that we used in the beginning. And the initial and actually most honest estimate of your daily commute is the median of the distribution curve of the time of arrival at the office. That means that 50% of time you will arrive earlier than planned and 50% later than planned. However, if you foresee some problems, like with your boss who is not happy to wait for you, you will add some buffer. And likewise, if you do not want to miss your flight, you will add even more buffer. Adding time, you are trying to take the probability of your success to 100%. Often people, when coming up with an estimate, do not consciously realize that the distribution curve is not symmetrical. And thus calculating the perceived average as the middle of the range is already flawed and is already an exaggerated estimate. But the main reason of inflated estimates is the absence of trust. In the absence of trust, team members afraid to miss their deadline tend to increase their perceived probability of success by pushing the estimate to the right. But taking it to a relatively safe level of, let's say, 75%, not 100% anyway, will at least double the real-time estimates, which appears to be the best we can do in case we have a carefully planned project. Now, add to this the chaos caused by the wrong estimates, and your project will take 3 times longer to complete, exactly in line with the immutable law. If you follow me closely, by the way, you would interrupt me here and highlight a logical error. If the project estimates are too high, then the project actuals should be less than planned, at least sometimes. Thus, they may actually improve margins, right? Logically correct, but in reality it is the opposite. How come? This is beyond project management per se, so let's talk about it in the questions and answers session right after this class. Let's summarize what we have discovered about the nature of project estimates today. If you make sure that your project or product or service you deliver has a very high probability of success, then your cost will be high and the profit margin will be small or even negative. Counterintuitive? I guess, but this is very true. A great corollary to that: if you wait for your product to be 100% guaranteed to succeed, your competition will have delivered by that time. This worldview will help you a lot doing any kind of business. Whatever you do in life, the reward you get is proportional to the level of risk you take. Bank robbers probably have the highest hourly rate, but they take on a lot of risk. And let me tell you, those guys usually have a very cohesive team. Once in my previous life,
I wouldn't go there.
I wouldn't go there
well, I
either.
think I digress. You know now the root cause of poor planning. The next step will be to learn a simple, soft 2.0 project management approach that will help you get the estimates very real, close to reality, and actually much better than ever before. We will be doing just that during our next meeting when we start the optimization phase in a week from now. Next time, see you in a week.
This is part of Project Managers Not PMPs course. To stay in the know, subscribe to Collectiva.
Thank you, Amy. See you in a week.
It happens. What, shit? Sometimes.
Question that popped up during the class today: why actuals are never better than even inflated estimates? You must have heard the answer before. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. This is known as Parkinson's law and is often referred to as a joke, but it is not a joke. Again, in simple words, if you need 10 hours to complete a task, you will probably use the 10 hours regardless. And even if the job goes faster than expected, in your mind you will defend the inflated initial estimate by A, the need to have a buffer, and B, if it goes faster, you will take it easy, improve your work-life balance, and make sure that everybody sees that your estimates are always correct. Knowing that, strong project managers start pushing the team and cutting the estimates sometimes in half. And the team, of course, starts pulling in the opposite direction. And when the two sides, I mean project manager and the team members, are not aligned, the result is going to be ugly, guaranteed. And that takes us again back to the soft root cause. It's the absence of trust. I have a graph that I created working on in a private high-tech company a long time ago, and it's a very telling graph, albeit it's a small project. And that is yet another proof that lack of structure is not an additional saving, but actually an extra cost. The company never had any project management in place, still doesn't have it, by the way, but they realized that they need to do it right. So the plan, the blue line, had 2,000 man hours over 10 weeks, so-called front-heavy plan with a shipping date on week 10. In reality, nothing was done for the first several weeks as people were crazy busy fighting fires elsewhere. Then the effort started growing exponentially, and eventually everybody in the company who could move was on the project helping to push the bloody thing out as soon as possible. But we failed to ship without penalties on the week 10th and finally shipped 2.5 weeks later. Wonder why if there is a second wave, there is a spike there on week 17. We had to send people to the customer site because the bloody thing wouldn't work there. I doubt there was any margin left after that. What's good about this project, about this example, is that it's a very good business case demonstrating a typical PM1.0 approach and proving the correctness of the immutable law number 8. The project was planned as a 2,000 man-hour effort, as carefully planned. Probably 2 times more than already necessary, but because it was not carefully planned, it took us almost 3,000 man-hours. And that is the end of the negative half of the Project Management 2.0 background story. From now on, adopting Project Management 2.0 methodology and tools, we will only improve and we will feel good about it. See you in a week.